Hi, I'm Tim and this is Timberway Designs. In this series of video, I'm going to take a rough rock or a slab. I'm going to take you through my whole process on how I make a cabochon. This week, I got a piece of Indigo Gabbro. Let's make a cabochon. So this week, I got a piece of Indigo Gabbro that I bought at the gem shop down in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. I'll put the link for that place below in the description. So I saw it, and I saw some cut, and I thought it looked pretty cool. Got kind of a multicolor theme going on there with some fortifications, it almost looks like. So we're going to make a cab out of this today. So I got this piece here that I cut off the end, and I'm trying to think, should be thick enough. So I'm going to use the pear shape template because I know you see this a lot in my videos, but I absolutely love this shape for some reason. I'm kind of deciding whether I should go 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches. The only thing with 1.5 inches is you got to have a little thicker rock for that. I don't think I have it here. So I am going to do 1.25 inches. And we're going to put it right here. I got a ultrafine Sharpie. Work that up. So if you're interested, I make these templates here and sell them on Etsy. So I got 26 different shapes, I think, and they're made out of plastic. They're not clear, but I figure anybody who does lapidary is pretty sharp anyway, so you should be able to figure this out. So if you're interested, take a look at them. All right, got my shape here. I'm going to take it down on my slab or trim saw. I'm going to trim this out, and then we'll take over the cab machine and start making a cab out of it. So I'll see you downstairs. All right, step number 1 is I'm going to cut this out after I get my gloves on here. And we're going to trim it out as close to the line as we can without cutting the line. And you got to be careful when you're trimming because sometimes chunks of rock might come out too. So the closer you get, the less you grind, but bad things could happen if you're not careful. There, that was pretty uneventful. So let's take over the cab machine and we'll trim it down to the lines there and then get it on a stick and finish it up. Now we've moved over to my 6-inch Kingsley North cabber, and we'll start on this side here. We'll start with the 80 grit, the 220 grit, and the 280 grit. So we're going to use the 80 grit to kind of rough grind it close to the line. We'll use the 220 grit to get it on the line, and we'll use the 280 grit to clean up the coarse cuts from these two here. So let's get started. Okay, that's close enough there. We're going to move on to the 220 grit. All right, I think that's good enough. So when you're grinding down to the line here, especially on this is softer stone here, you can adjust your pressure so you don't push into the line to get down to the end. You know, you don't have to mash on this really hard. And the other thing is you got to keep the stone moving, especially on this wheel here, and especially on a softer stone, because you can grind a flat spot. If you grind a flat spot into this edge here, you're not going to get it off here. You're going to have to come back and make an adjustment. So let's move on to 280 grit. All right, so basically all I'm doing here is I'm just taking out any grinding marks left over by the 220 grit off the edge here. So I'm looking pretty good there. I'm kind of liking that. Now we're going to put it on the dot pot, heat it up so we can glue a stick to it, and then we'll start making a cabochon out of it. So I'll see you in a bit. All right, we got this all dopped up here. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to grind a girdle into it. And basically that is a flat spot along the bottom edge here. It'll be about an 1/8 inch high to 2 millimeter ish, and goes all the way around the cab. And once I get that established, then we'll start working our way towards the center of the cab. So let's start grinding. Oh, and we're going to start with the 80 grit, and then 220 grit, and then 280 grit, and then we'll move on to the polishing side. All right, I established the girdle. It's this flat edge around the bottom here. So now what we're going to do, and you can see I came in at an angle like that. So now we're going to start working our way towards the top here. So I'm going to tack this edge up here. And stay away from your girdle now. You established that. You don't want to be grinding into that anymore. So let's work our way towards the center here. All right, kind of worked our way towards the center here. Now this is the end cut, so there's some rough spots in here. So now I got kind of a rough dome going here. I'm going to start grinding on it, start doming it, and get it down to the shape I want. All right, almost there. I think I got a couple dead spots. Little spots in here. I'm going to try to grind them out. Okay, I'm liking that. Now we're going to move on to the 220 grit. Now what I do here is, you see me kind of going around like that, is I'm grinding down to the edge here, going around, and I'm grinding the marks left over from the 80 grit, and then that way I get this nice ground down spot here, and then when I start doming it, I don't have to worry about cutting into the girdle here. Okay, we're ready to move on to the 280 grit. So what I just did there was, all I did was cut the corner of the cab. I didn't go down the side. I just took off the sharp edge along the corner, or along the side of the cab here. See how we're doing here. All right, I'm liking that. All right, we're going to move over to the polishing side. All right, we've moved over to the polishing side. I got a 600, 1200, 3000, and I got cerium oxide disc around the corner here, so we'll start with the 600. All right, move on to 12. That's looking kind of cool. Let's move on to the 3000 grit. All right, looking good so far. Let's see if we can bump this shine a little bit on the cerium oxide disc. All right, this is my cerium oxide disc. It's a cerium impregnated sticky disc that sticks onto a foam pad, and the foam pad screws into the shaft on my cabber here. I like it because it's not messy. It works fairly good, and we're going to see if we can get the shine look a little better on this cab here. All right, let's see what we got going here. Little pant leg. Oh yeah, look at that. Ain't that cool? All right, I'm gonna throw it in the freezer, get it off the stick, and then we'll take a close look at it. Let's see how we did here. Look at that, good shine. Even I was kind of afraid the dark spots, the dark spots weren't gonna shine very well, but I'm impressed. That is pretty. So I think we hit the spots pretty good too. I don't know what those are exactly. It was a relatively soft stone, so it was easy to work. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I like the design, I like the shininess, and thought it came out pretty good. So there is Indigo Gabbro from the gem shop in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Well, thanks for coming along and watching me take a chunk of this and make this cool looking cabochon, this Indigo Gabbro. I really liked it a lot. I thought it came out really good. So I'm gonna put my notes back up here. They keep falling down. So next week, now I'm probably gonna mispronounce this really bad. I got a piece of stromatolite from Highland Park lapidary. We're gonna make a cabochon out of this. So this stone here, I'll get it on Etsy as soon as I can. And this video comes out every Saturday. And then I got another series that comes out every Wednesday where I cut 10 rocks in half, and then I make cabs out of those and then show them on the next episode. So I'd like to thank all you viewers and subscribers, especially the subscribers. You guys got me over 20,000. Let's keep on pushing that up there. I really appreciate it. So if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. Just slide down, push that button down there to subscribe, and then all you slide over and give me a thumbs up, because that gets the analytics out there so more people can find this content. And then you can hyperlink it on your phone, you can share it, and then you can push that bell button, and that'll give you notifications from when these videos come out. And then I'm gonna put up a playlist. I always forget where it comes up at. And then it's gonna show all the videos, these cabbing videos, so you don't have to dig around for them. You can go from #1 all the way up to 69. And then I'll let YouTube put a video up there, whatever they want, as long as it's one of mine. I don't care, but it's got to be one of mine. So appreciate you watching. That's all I got, and I'll catch you later.